If you'd like to be a member of this group, or if you are a member of this group and would like to have a commitment here, please see Chris R. He is not here today because he woke up very ill this morning, but he is doing better. I talked to him this afternoon. So just see me after the meeting if you'd like a commitment, and I'll get you on the list. Please be polite and keep your phones off and stay seated during our speaker. Now help me enthusiastically welcome our speaker and my sponsor, Craig.
My name's Craig, and I'm an alcoholic. Thank you. Thanks for asking me. Mike, thank everybody for braving the snow and coming out. I know there's 12 inches or better out there. I'm from Gilbert, Arizona. I drove up earlier today, there was less snow. But I gotta tell you, one thing about Mike is sometimes, his perception is different than mine, because we're gonna have dinner over here at Cracker Barrel, so we call him, he said, well, it's not snowing. So we drive there and we could barely get there because of snow. Then we do get there, we're there 5 minutes, and Mike's gotta leave because he's gotta go help his wife at home, and then, we were luckily able to push the snow to get over here. So anyways, 36 years yesterday. That may not impress you, but it impresses the hell out of me. I didn't pick the date, and it has nothing to do with me. If I was picking a date, I would not pick the end of the month. And happy birthday to the 14th. Yeah. Also, well, one's at the end, one's the first. And congratulations, I think it was new, our first 30 days. Glad you're here. Hope you hear something tonight. If I was going to pick my date, I'd pick the first of the month, or at least towards the first, so I could celebrate the whole month, or at least. I mean, this is 28th. Thank God it wasn't 29th. My sponsor told me last night. He said, "Well, Craig, if it would have been 29th, you would have had real humility. I'd be about 7-8 years sober, I think, if it was on the 29th." So, anyways, like I said, it's an honor and privilege to share for Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's the reason I wear a shirt and tie. That wasn't always the case, and this group means a lot to me. I've been coming up to Prescott since 1987, and I come to many groups throughout the time and many roundups, but the Rarely group back when Ken Henderson was involved, and also Nurse Betty, Angelfoot Betty. I was able to come over here and see them. They were pillars in this group, as well as Mike is, I think, the last surviving member. A little bit about me. I have a sponsor. He knows he's my sponsor. I sponsor guys. They know I'm their sponsor. I've had 5 sponsors. 3 of them are dead. I didn't kill them. And the other 2 are still alive and well. They were at a group I was at last night. Gordy, my first sponsor, died with 29 years sober. Leo, my second sponsor, died 2 days shy of his 50 years sober. And Clancy, who just passed with 61 years sober. So I've been very blessed to have a strong sponsorship and primary purpose, and steeped in the steps, steeped in the traditions, steeped in the concepts, steeped in service. And I can tell you, the man I am tonight is not the man that walked in here. I can tell you the person I am representing Alcoholics Anonymous now is the person that I despised when I came in here when I was new. So there's a lot of you out there, I'm sure, way younger than I am, and wondering what's an old bald man like me got to share with you. What do I know about drinking, and drugging, and but you're going to hear a little bit about me, and I hopefully try to listen to anything you compare with, relate with. We don't try to compare ourselves out of here, because if I'm looking for a loophole, you're going to find one. If you're looking for a way out, there's a way out. But if you're done, we have a solution. Alcoholics Anonymous has a solution, and it works. It works very well. I'm living proof of that. I was going to kill myself when I got here. I wanted to die every day for 10 years before I got here. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to wake up. I didn't want to come to. I didn't want to be sucking air. I just didn't want to be here. And alcohol allowed me to live with myself for 10 years like that and keep from killing myself. I'll tell you a little bit about my history and where I come from. My mom is sitting in the front row. My mom's 89 years old. My sister's sitting in the front row. I lost my dad in 2017, but had 30 great years with my dad. I have 3 other brothers, and I have a good relationship with all of them. I was born and raised in the state of Wyoming, born in Thermopolis, Wyoming. Anybody ever hear of that? A lot of people haven't, Rock Springs, Green River, Casper. Anyways, we grew up all over Wyoming. Wyoming is a great place to be raised. I know how to drive in the snow. That's how I got here. I loved it. We grew up kids that, just ran. We'd go out the door as soon as we got up, and I know Mom would be calling us in at night when the street lights came on. We were supposed to be coming in, and even then we didn't want to come in. We were out. We were playing, stick in a wheel. We played baseball, football, snowball, crab apple, chasing rabbits, chasing gophers. Just a good life, a good, wholesome life. We had bicycles, we rode everywhere, later motorcycles, snowmobiles. I had a great childhood. I had great brothers, great sister, Mom and Dad. I knew where Mom and Dad was at. And yet, something inside of me, it was never enough. I remember my dad buying me a brand new motorcycle when I turned 15. Now, I got 2 older brothers, and they didn't get a brand new motorcycle, but I did, and it wasn't good enough because it wasn't a 125. My brother, younger than me, got that hand-me-down, and he was pleased with it. He fixed it up, he painted it, he loved it, So it was just, before I ever picked up a drink, I can remember in 2nd grade, I had a box of marbles, okay? And I had the prettiest collection of marbles and steelies and cat eyes, and, and I didn't earn any of them. What I did was Mom and Dad had a silver collection, and me and my brother would go in there and we'd take a coin here and there, and we'd go down to Woolworths and we'd buy us some marbles. And then one night at the dinner table, Mom and Dad said, well, they think the babysitter's stealing from them. So then that gave us free reign to take more. And then I guess it was the Woolworth lady told my mom what was going on. And my mom gave us a whooping. And it was a good whooping, and we deserved it. But I didn't think she was ever going to stop. I don't think I could ever tell a lie again after that. But but the only way I felt good enough on the school ground was to have the most marbles, the prettiest marbles. And I'll tell one other quick one. I had a watch in 3rd grade, but I told everybody I had 2 watches. When I didn't, I stole my brother's watch. Well, I borrowed it, and I put it up on my bicep before I went to school. And then when I went to school, I showed everybody I had 2 watches, and I thought I was cool. And I always had to overcompensate to even try to begin to feel normal. So anyways, somewhere between 7th and 8th grade, I picked up a drink. And it was at a girl's party. The parents were supposed to be out of town. This girl, her parents owned a bar. Her mom owned a bar. And there was all the booze we wanted. And we just poured everything in a bucket. They call it panther piss, and you have a few drinks of that. And I blacked out and passed out the first time I ever drank. I had hair back then, believe it or not. They called me Goldilocks. I had long hair. The girls told me that they washed my hair in wine. I wished I would have been aware of that. I was not. I went home. My dad was asleep in his recliner. I walked past him. My mom was at the stairs. I just went by her and went straight down and passed out. And she told me the next morning that she was there that night, slapping me, trying to find out where I'd been, what was going on. But I was just out. That was the first time I ever took a drink. It didn't get any better. I went through school pretty much unscathed. Small problems here and there. Maybe, I don't know, I might have got sent home for smoking. Once in a while, I smoked them left-handed cigarettes, but I didn't really like that stuff and the only reason I ever smoked it was because my friends smoked it, and I thought if I didn't smoke it, they would think I was a narc or something. But when I smoked that, I became what I thought a psychiatrist was. I sort of became part of the couch, and then I could read everybody's mind, and then and then you have to pass that little roach, and I was always nervous around girls anyways, and I shake a lot, but I couldn't wait to get rid of that and start drinking, because I got to get rid of that feeling, because drinking, makes me feel whole. Drinking makes me feel, 6 foot tall, dark, handsome, bulletproof. When I have a drink, I want to get up and I want to go somewhere and I want to be somebody, and alcohol did that for me, for clear up until when it didn't. I ran away from home for a brief period. I went 2 blocks up with a friend's house, right? But while I was up there, Mom and Dad and the rest of the kids left. They moved out of town. And I thought, oh, wow, this is for real, I guess. And I told Mom and Dad, leave me alone, I'll graduate. They did, I did. They came to the graduation. I did not invite them. They asked me if I wanted to move back home, and I said, sure, I didn't have anywhere else to go. And so we moved to an even smaller town in Wyoming. It was Green River, Wyoming. Green River, Wyoming. That is my kind of town. It is a drinking town. It is an oil field, railroad, and mining town. People work 24 hours a day, shift work, You can walk down the street at 6 in the morning with a beer, or 6 in the evening with a beer, or a drink, and whatever, and they won't look at you any different than if you had a soda pop. It made no difference. People drink you can get open container, you can order open drinks out the window. It's a drinker's paradise is what it is. And plus it's cold a lot. It's like it is out there now, only for about another 6-8 months, But so I love that. I got a job with the railroad. I made very good money out of high school, the most money I ever made in my life. And I would get paid on Friday, and I would be borrowing lunch money on Monday. And I had 0 bills. I paid no rent. I didn't pay money for food. Actually, I paid very little money for booze. Mom and Dad owned the bar. I recommend that if you're alcoholic. I drank top shelf booze as much as I wanted, as often as I wanted. And I think that probably helped me get here at least 10 years quicker. That and the go fast. I like to go fast, not because of what it did to me or whatever, but it allowed me to drink more and longer. And what I do, I think the drinking makes me more suave, so I can talk to the girls. Well, by the time I got enough guts to talk to the girls, I'm slobbering, slurring my words, I'm just a mess. I have no idea what's wrong. I bought a truck, it's the first truck I'd bought, and in Wyoming, what we do when we party is we go to your town, because there's nothing going on in our town. So we drove to another town. It was Christmas time. Well, it was in December, I'll say that. And we went over to another town, and we partied up, and we got drunk and everything. And we were coming back that night, and I came to on the gurney with two cops to my left and my parents to my right telling me my brother didn't make it. My brother was 18, I was 20. I don't really know what I know I lost it. I know that deep down inside of me, you know, you read about that, you hear about that, it doesn't happen to you. It doesn't happen to you. I know that somewhere deep inside of me, what I said, what I heard was, alcohol killed my brother Carl, and it will kill me too. So I could have shot myself in the head as sober as I'm sitting here tonight, but I couldn't put my parents or my other brothers or my sister through more pain. So my great deduction is I'm going to drink and drive and I'm going to die. And everybody will say, poor Craig, look what happened to him. Same thing that happened to Carl. Okay. So my accident was in December of 77. I sobered up in February of 87. So I had roughly 10 years of running and gunning. Okay. And I mean, I ran as hard and as long as I could. Mom and Dad were pretty affluent. They saw that I saw doctors, good doctors, psychiatrists, sociologists, counselors. I don't remember any of them ever telling me that I had a problem with drinking. I'm not saying they didn't say, if they did say it, I never heard it. I never heard it. I never heard anybody say that I had a problem with drinking. I had a DUI, but you know, the repercussion was the judge says, poor you lost your brother. She slapped me on the hand and they took my license for a short period of time. It didn't matter, I didn't want to drive anyways. So there was no penalty. I guess in my head is what I thought. You know, and actually one of these psychiatrists said, because I did get in some trouble with selling some drugs to a person in the bar, and then I got in real trouble, you know, because then I was facing some time, and because actually my thought was, well, I'll get in trouble, I'll go to jail, and I want to study in jail, I'll become an attorney, and then I'll get out. But what happened was I got arrested, and they put me in jail, and then I wasn't there very long, and I didn't like it, you know. Now, I never did any real time. I did some weekends here and there or whatever. I never did any real time. So anyways, but these psychiatrists, I just remember they give me pills. I would talk to them about my brother, but what happened, my brother would come to me in my sleep. And so I wanted to sleep a lot. I wanted to sleep a lot because that's when I would see him. But then when these pills they give me, it just seemed like I couldn't wake up. You know, I couldn't even like hold my head up straight. I'd sleep like 16 hours a day. So I would like try to take them and take half of it out and take a half a pill and drink. And anyways, I just threw the pills away and then I just drink. Because when I pick up a bottle of bourbon and take about 3 or 4 swigs off it, I can breathe. I can breathe. And I know what it does for me, and I know how quick it acts, and for a brief moment, I'm okay. I'm okay. And for a brief moment, it shuts this off, and I can quit thinking about what happened, what I did, and I can live with what I've done, and I can keep from doing this. And so, you know, from 20 on, I didn't drink for fun anymore. I drank to pass out. I drink to black out. Actually, hopefully I black out first, because if I do, then I don't make such an ass out of myself. But I can tell you, I got in more trouble. I did get some more DUIs. I didn't kill anybody else or hurt anybody else, thank God. And so now I have moved to Arizona with a friend that's coming down here to go to law school, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's what I need to do. I need to go to school. And I was doing a geographic. I didn't know what a geographic was. I came here. I was here 2 weeks, and I found my people. You know, they had the white powder and they had the liquor, and it was game on. But somewhere in there, my roommate said to me one night, he said, Craig, I think you're an alcoholic. And I've never heard that before. I didn't know what an alcoholic was, but so I called somebody. It might have been NCAA, National Council of Alcoholism. It might have been AA. I don't know. And I remember going in and talking to a guy. His secretary got me a half a cup of coffee, and then we talked a while, and he said, well, I think you need inpatient treatment. And I said, well, I don't have insurance. And he gave me a card, and he said, well, we have coffee on Friday nights over here, and da-da-da-da-da. And that was lost on me. I had no idea what he was talking about. I didn't do anything with that information. A little later on, I'm in a psychology class in college, and this kid had written a paper on the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And for whatever reason, the professor broke his anonymity. And so I went up to that kid afterwards, and I said, hey, would you take me to some of those meetings? And he said he would. And so he did. He took me to the Saguaro Club down in Phoenix. The first Saguaro Club I ever went to was on 34 West Dunlap in Sunny Slope. And I can tell you, it was a shithole. Okay? I mean, I drank in some bad bars, and none of them looked that bad. I mean, I had to duck to go in there, and I'm not very tall. The fans looked like they're going to fall off the roof. The smoke was 4 or 5 feet off the ceiling. Some old person, probably old as I am now, read the 5th chapter and said, if you want what we got, you'll go to any length to get it. And I thought, my God, I got more than these people will ever have, and I don't want it. And then and I remember this. This was over 36 years ago, and but there was a younger woman, 20s probably, and she was getting a cake for 1 year. And I thought, well, isn't that nice? They give her a cake for not drinking on weekends. And they said, no, Craig, she didn't drink the whole year. And I couldn't believe it. I could not wrap my head around that. There was a gentleman on my right. He had tried to kill himself the night before, so I thought he needed my help. So I got his number. I would call and talk to his wife at night and tell her what was wrong with him. Don't do this the way I did it. Jesus. And then there's this one Betty or somebody I know. But, well, Craig, you're so smart, you're going to have to step over some dead ones before you get this program, And I was a pallbearer twice in my first 2 years of sobriety. And the second kid was 25 years old, and he died of liver failure and hepatitis. And Gordy, my first sponsor, made me go to the funeral, made me touch the body. He said, that's untreated alcoholism. It will kill you, and it will kill me. And it woke me up. It woke me up. They said, Gordy would tell me, he said, Craig, if you want to get sober, you need to join Alcoholics Anonymous. He said, if you want to show off your toys, you want to go to Cocaine Anonymous. And he said, if you want to get laid, you go to NA Anonymous. And then he said, but if you want to get sober, you need to join Alcoholics Anonymous. You need to get a sponsor, you need to get a home group, and you need to get a position. So I did. I asked Gordy to sponsor me. He said, well, we'll go out to coffee first. And so we went out to coffee, and it wasn't like we'd been going to coffee before, and it was a lot of fun. We'd all sit at the table, eat pie, cake, laugh, tell jokes. And but he, this time he took me over in the corner in a booth, and he talked, and I listened, and he just read me the riot act. Man, this guy, you want me to sponsor you? You're going to read 2 pages out of the big book every day. You're going to sit in the front 2 rows of the meeting. You are not going to talk in the meeting. You are not going to talk to women in meeting. You are not going to get women's phone numbers. You will not get up and go to the restroom. You will not get up and get coffee. He said, just on and on. He said, and you're going to ask for help. I said, no. I said, I don't believe in that God stuff. He said, I didn't ask you to believe. He said, you're going to do the lip service. You're going to do the lip service, and if you don't drink, you're going to thank him at night. I went home that night with my 5 days of sobriety, and I said, this is what I said, I didn't believe. And I closed the door, nobody was home. I got on the knees by myself, and I said, God, whoever you are, whatever you are, please help me not to drink. Because I'd rather die than go on living the way I've been living. And something happened in that room. Now, God didn't speak to me, but I can tell you something happened because I felt warm, I felt comfortable, and what came to me was if I just don't drink, no matter what, everything's going to be all fine. That did not come from my head because I didn't want that to be the answer. Drinking had always been my answer. It was my only answer. Matter of fact, that was the part I missed for a long time here because, I thought they were talking about, okay, you come to AA, you quit drinking, your life should get better. Well, that was never my experience. I quit drinking, and what happens is alcoholism shows up. I become restless, irritable, and discontent. I become more restless, more irritable, and more discontent when I don't have any alcohol, and especially when I don't have any steps or a sponsor or anybody helping me do this. So, when this thought to not drink, it was definitely not on mine. And then going to a meeting again the next day was just, really, I think I got here on the second step. The second step is the principle behind it is hope. The principle behind the first step is honesty. And I was as honest as I could be, but really, like I said, I'm going to kill myself now because the liquor quit working, and so now I'm an academic, okay? I did go to school, I did get a degree, and I thought that would help fix me or something, but it didn't, and the alcohol quit working, so now I'm going to do this. And so I'm going to come here, and I'm going to do what you tell me to do, and when it doesn't work, I can go back out. And that was, as stone cold sober as I am tonight, that was my plan. And so as you see, I'm here. I did not plan it. I didn't come here to get God. I did not come here to talk about God. And I know what I'm saying, but I did not hear God in these rooms when I first came here, because had I heard it, I would have turned around and walked out. I know we pray in the beginning. I know we pray at the end. I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. And yet this happened to me. And so I just did what they told me to do. So Gordy gives me all this, this lowdown. I asked for this help. I have this. I didn't know then that God had removed the obsession to drink. I didn't know it that night, that week. I don't know if I knew it that year. I know it today. I have not wanted to drink not once since I've been here. That's a miracle, not once. And I can tell you, I quit smoking. I've wanted to smoke a lot of times. Homicide, maybe. Suicide, not since I was 6 months sober, not once. So, I go about and then I do what, he says, okay, well, you got to get a position. And he says, well, I think you should be coffee maker. I said, well, Gordy, I am college educated, we should probably let somebody less fortunate make coffee. You will make coffee for a year. Okay. And then I'm making the coffee, and they have decaf. Well, I don't want my whiskey watered down. I don't want my coffee watered down. So I made regular coffee. And then the group got a little upset with me. They said, Craig, we don't have regular coffee. I said, well, you do now. They said, well, we'll have a group conscience. So they had a group conscience. And actually, I sort of feel I tied this one because they said, well, what you can do is you can make regular and decaf. So I sort of tied. I didn't lose totally, right? So anyways, so I got the key and I get there early and I make the coffee and, I set up the chairs just like somebody did here tonight. These meetings don't just appear out of thin air. And then at a year, they said, well, Craig, you got to give up your position. You got to give this guy your key. I said, no. I said, he didn't know how to make the coffee. He didn't, nobody else could do it as good. I didn't want to give it up, Then they made me secretary so anyways, I did all the other positions, held all those positions and most positions, intergroup, many positions, that area. But at 18 months sober, that's when they first came out with the 18-month chip. So me and my buddy Rodney both had 18 months. So I ran down the intergroup and I got us some 18-month chips, and I presented myself and Rodney with 18-month chips at Monday night in Maryville. By the way, they used to call Monday night in Maryville the fourth intergroup in the Valley. I mean, we produced like 7, 8 delegates out of that group. And so anyways, I present the chips, and then one of the past delegates tells me, they said, Craig, Maryville doesn't give 18-month chips. And I said, well, they do now. And so they said, well, we got to have a group conscience, And so anyways, they voted me against me. And I was aghast. I was like, my God, how can you do that? And I had a resentment for a long time. I was sober 5, 6 years before I put that money back in the basket for them 18-month chips. I was burnt. I was so burnt. But Maryville really did, which was my home group. They taught me how to grow up. They taught me how to be a friend among friends, and a worker, if you will, in the sense of we're volunteer workers. I remember when they made me GSR of my group, that's where we go to the area, the business side of AA, and then carry our group conscience. And I was always the minority opinion. For a while, they would call me Minority Craig, And I can tell you, one of them, we were in Wilcox, we were having an area assembly, and this was, at the time, they were trying to put AA on the internet, okay? I can tell you, I'm an IT professional. I just retired, but I was an IT professional. And I was against this, strongly against this. And, everybody gets up and makes their argument in front of the mic, and then, but what I didn't really know the Robert's Rules of Order yet. And so somebody would get up there, and then, so I'd like get right back in line. I wanted to rebut every person that got up there, but that ain't how it works. Everybody gets one voice, and then it goes to a vote, And the vote was like 133 to 1, And of course, I was the one. And I remember going up to the past delegate, well, actually, he was past delegate and past trustee, Bob Morris. He's since passed out of Tucson. I said, Bob, how could all these people be wrong? I really felt that. Oh my God. Talk about arrogance and pride, and oh my gosh, it's amazing that I, was able to stay here. And Bob, I don't remember what he said, but he said it in such a gentle way that, I was humiliated, but a little less so, But so what we get to do here is we get to practice living. We need to practice life, because if I screw up here and if I tell somebody F you or whatever, somebody's, they're not going to like it, and somebody's going to line me out. But if I try that at work, I'm probably going to get walked to the door, I got another one where, okay, and my sponsor had me selling these tickets in the meetings. He worked for Casa de Amigas, which was a woman's treatment center, and they were going to have a dinner and a dance, and we were having an AA speaker, but we were selling these tickets for $5 or whatever it was for the dinner. And I would stand up and announce that at the home group. And so 2 of the elder statesmen, after the meeting, they took me outside quietly, talked to me one-on-one, and explained to me that's not an AA announcement. So I'm like, 18 months sober. I'm like, F you, I'm doing what I want, you know. I think I'm doing what's right for AA. And I don't even know anything about it, you know. So the next week, we go there, I stand up, I make this announcement. The guy right behind me stands up right behind me. He says, that's not an AA announcement. And I was so humiliated that I left the meeting. I can tell you, I've only left 2 meetings in my 36 years. It was that one, and once I walked into a woman's meeting by mistake. So at least when I left that meeting, I went to another meeting, okay? So, but what I learned was, you know, I need to learn from these. They're just doing what's right for AA. We have guidelines. Yes, we don't have AA police, but we have guidelines, and they're the traditions, you know. And they talk about is if we don't follow them, the punishment is actually swift, you know. We will drink, and if we drink, to drink is to die, you know. A group that doesn't follow the traditions will no more exist than an individual that doesn't follow the steps. They say we have no authorities here, but we do have 2 authorities here. We have 2 of them. They're implied. One is alcohol, and one is God. One heals, and one kills. And I don't care if you call him God. I didn't like that when I got here, but higher power, great spirit, spirit of the universe, whatever you want to call it. But, you know, Gory just told me, he said, it doesn't matter. You don't get hung up. Actually, he just told me, do you believe I believe? I said, yeah. He said, well, you can pray to my God, you know. And that was good enough. You know, GOD, group of drunks. He said, this group is staying sober. You're not, you know. He said, gift of desperation, GOD, you know. I had the gift of desperation. Thank God. I didn't know it when I got here, but I had it. And then one I've heard not too long ago, GOD, get outdoors. You know, my God is outdoors. You know, so anyway, so I'm learning and I'm growing up slowly and begrudgingly here in AA, because even though this is an anonymous program, I still think that I should rise to the top, you know, and be somebody or something. Yeah, as high as you get here in Alcoholics Anonymous, we're all there tonight. Sober. Sober is as high as we get. There is no hierarchy that, you know, yes, I got a number of years and I'm happy with that. And yes, it's easier to stay sober today, having strung along some days and months and years together. But it's, you know, it's easier today than when I first got here. Definitely easier. But I think it's a guy from around here that says, don't ever get so many years that the days in between get in the way. You know, don't forget about today. Because you can have my 36 years. I still want today. You know, I can't live on yesterday's air. I can't live on yesterday's sobriety. I need to continue to give back to Alcoholics Anonymous. I cannot repay. If I give from the day till I die, which I do and I've done, every time I try to repay Alcoholics Anonymous, I get more in return. So then I went into PICPC, that's public information with cooperation with professional community. I talked at the schools quite a bit. I talked at school level. I talked to college level. I talked to judges. I talked to attorneys. I talked to health fairs. And that was all good, and it was fun. But then I went to the jails, and I talked some in the jails, and because I thought I had this horrific story. Well, I do have a horrific story. My whole family has a horrific story. But, you know, I wanted to talk to the ones that were incarcerated. But in the jails, I would go in there, and every week, there's like a new batch of guys, and they just want to come in there. They want to talk shit. They want to smoke cigarettes in the back of the room and yada, yada. So I said, no, I want to go where I have the same group of guys week in, week out, year in, year out. And where are they? They're in prison, okay? So I got badged and went to prison. Now, if you ever been badged or tried to get badged, it's not an easy process. They're going to piss you off. You have to remember, we're not doing it for the state. We're doing it for the drunk behind the walls. You know, you'll do the paperwork at least 3 times. They will lose it at least 3 times. It's just they don't want you in there because it's more work for them. But when I started doing these, I did it when Perryville was a men's facility, and I was out there and I was working with a guy named Rocky. Rocky, how many? It's 2 minutes? Oh my God. Okay. Wow. Anyways, so Rocky is doing 10 years flat for double vehicular manslaughter that he didn't remember. And when he told me that, he leveled me, he humbled me, and I knew that I should be wearing orange, that I should be sitting in a cell, and I should be doing time. And so my attitude changed. I did prison work for at least 20 years. And in a meeting one night, I had a guy tap me on the shoulder, and he said he wanted to talk to me after the meeting. I didn't know this guy. I'd never seen him. I didn't know. Did I sleep with his wife? Do I owe him money? You know, I don't know. And anyways, after the meeting, he come up to me. He goes, "You don't remember me, do you?" I said, "No, I don't." He said, "Last time you see me, I was wearing orange, and I was in a prison cell." And he said, "I'm sober. I have a job, and I have a wife because of you." And you can't buy that kind of high. No alcohol, no drug ever made me feel that good. You know, I've had a couple guys out since. I got one guy out now, Joseph, doing really well. It's the blessing. It's the blessing of this. The miracles are unbelievable, and I'm being told to stop. So hopefully you heard something. If you don't have a home group, get a home group, get a sponsor, and do the deal. This is the easier, softer way. I thank God for AA. I thank you people for showing me my God. Thank you very much.